Damage prevention challenges have never been greater than they are today. This series of damages from 2013 illustrates the obvious. Despite the pressures of today's excavation industry, workers must remain vigilant and resist the temptation to cut corners. The worst excavation disasters are those that could have been easily prevented. With one strike of the clock, lives can be altered forever.
KC Fire, what's the address of the emergency?
It's the intersection of 48th and Bellevue.
Okay.
We had a gas line.
Okay. You work at a construction company?
Yeah, utility contracting company, yes.
Okay. So is it hissing and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And how large is it?
Don't know, I can't see it. It's under the road.
We're on the way.
Hey, Fire, this is Gas.
Yes.
Hey, we had an explosion, they're saying, down at JJ's restaurant on the plaza.
Okay. We got an explosion down south. Okay, no, you know, it's some type of gas explosion.
Yeah, so we need ambulance and...
All right, we're en route. Fire department, what's the address of the emergency?
JJ's on the plaza. There was an explosion just a few seconds ago, and there's a visible fire up the front. It looks like it's around the front of JJ's. There's smoke billowing everywhere. It's spreading.
Okay, we're on the way.
One woman died in an explosion at a popular Kansas City restaurant after a gas line was ripped open during installation of a telecommunications cable by a contractor using horizontal directional drilling. Following the contractor's call to 911 reporting leaking gas, city fire personnel were dispatched to the leak site at 4:54 p.m. Soon after the gas company arrived at 5:16, the fire department left the scene. The explosion occurred at 6:04 and fire units returned at 6:08. The contractor had a valid one-call ticket, but according to an OSHA citation dated August 15th, the contractor potholed but failed to pothole to the intended depth of the bore. Only then, according to OSHA, would the contractor have found the gas line, which was ultimately struck. Local Kansas City media immediately questioned why the fire department left the scene. They point to a widely scrutinized 2005 New Jersey gas leak, where with plenty of time to take action, firemen did not evacuate an apartment building which ultimately blew up, killing 3 residents. Workers installing a telecommunications line bored through a 2-inch gas main, resulting in a leak which migrated underground and into an adjacent home. Gas company workers had been on the scene for approximately an hour, attempting to find and fix the leak when the home exploded. Moments before the explosion, the 61-year-old resident of the home was making cookies, stopping only to walk outside to retrieve her mail. While outside, she asked gas company workers about the need to evacuate her home. After being told that things were under control, she stepped back into the soon-to-be destroyed home.
Louisville 911, location of your emergency.
Something just blew up across the street from us.
This is Louisville 911. There's a gas explosion.
A power company auguring for installation of a pole struck a 4-inch gas main. Although residents in a 1-block area downwind of the broken main were evacuated and electricity to the area shut off, a 55-year-old man in a home 60 feet upwind from the damage was not evacuated. 2.5 hours later, with the gas company at the scene attempting to fix the leak, the man died in an explosion resulting from gas migrating into his residence through the ground. A report issued months later from the Railroad Commission of Texas said the gas company allegedly violated 5 safety regulations while the power company violated 1, digging on an expired one-call ticket. The Dallas media compared the Louisville catastrophe with another one, suffered by the same gas company, a 2008 fatal explosion in McKinney, Texas. Although on the scene for over an hour and aware of natural gas in the sewer following an excavation accident, nearby homes were not evacuated. Kansas City, Oklahoma City, Louisville, the gas company was there for all three explosions, and they had been there for a while. These three accidents illustrate a lack of evacuation or insufficient evacuation. And all of these explosions occurred after a gas line was hit. In the case of Kansas City, the firemen were initially there, but then they left the scene. The woman who died in Kansas City never left the restaurant. But what we have here is strike one, the hit line. Strike two, the fireman left the scene. Strike three, somebody was killed. In Louisville, the firemen were on the scene, but they did not evacuate the house that blew up. They evacuated a block downwind of the escaping gas. This photo shows the power company's auger still in the ground. Why didn't the gas company or the firemen consider migrating gas? Because that's what caused the house to explode, killing the 55-year-old man. In the early morning hours, city workers prepared to fix a water main break when their dump truck sank into the street, striking a gas service and pulling the service away from the main. Gas company crews arrived at the scene at 5 a.m. and evacuated a home that would eventually explode at 7 a.m. The city manager claims that had the gas line been located properly, the dump truck would have never been parked where it was. Referring to the city's equipment needed to repair leaks, the city manager claimed, "We set them up in an appropriate location for where utilities have been identified."
The exact cause may take days, weeks, even months before the investigation is complete to identify how this incident actually happened and what led up to it.
In October of 2013, almost 7 months after the Gainesville explosion, the Railroad Commission of Texas alleges the gas company took 7 hours to stop the flow of gas, and that constitutes a violation of safety rules. In Gainesville, evacuation was never an issue. The gas company evacuated the home an hour and a half before the explosion. The big issue, as far as the Texas regulators are concerned, is that it took almost 7 hours to turn off the gas. One way to stop blowing gas resulting from damage to gas mains is to access underground valves. Once the valve box lid is removed, a valve key is inserted into the valve box and attached to the valve. Turning the valve key at the surface closes the underground valve. These gas company employees struggled to turn off a valve. Based on the design of the system, closing this valve may extinguish the flame, or another valve may have to be closed to stop the flow of gas coming in from the other direction. Called to the scene, these gas company employees are digging up the pavement in preparation to stop the flow of gas. If not shut off by a valve, gas flow can also be stopped through the use of a specialized tool which squeezes the gas main. This damage was the result of an electrical contractor not calling 811 before they dug. But they are not the only type of professional excavator that chooses to endanger the public. During a gas line replacement project, a 7-person gas company crew bored into an existing gas service, causing an explosion which left a man dead and damaged approximately 30 neighboring homes. Although the crew was aware that gas was leaking, they left the scene after contacting the gas company dispatch. The crew requested that a serviceman come to the site to determine the severity of the leak. The fatal blast occurred 4 minutes after the construction crew left the site at the end of their workday. Feeling the detonation from the gas company facility 9 blocks away, a manager arrived at the disaster site 8 minutes following the blast. The dispatched servicemen arrived 14 minutes after that. The day after the incident, the gas company announced that they were responsible for the explosion. According to a report issued by the Michigan Public Service Commission, The gas company crew did not expose existing gas services that were crossing during the boring of a new main under a sidewalk. As a result of this tragedy, all crew and supervisory personnel directly associated with the replacement project were fired by the gas company. In Royal Oak, locating was an issue. Perhaps you could say it was the lack of locating that was an issue. Here's the scoop. The gas company was boring in a new plastic main to replace a 1929 steel main that was on the opposite side of the road. The folks were boring the main underneath the sidewalk. So they were going to cross all of the existing services feeding the homes on that side of the road. Well, the sidewalk was not taken up. This was blind boring. The gas line that they hit was a service feeding the home that exploded. And the crew knew they smelled gas. They knocked on the door. Nobody was home. Nobody answered anyway. They ended up calling dispatch and leaving the scene 4 minutes before the home exploded. So what we have here is strike one, no exposing of the existing gas services. They were boring blind. Strike two, they didn't identify the hazard, the fact that a home was filled with gas. Strike three, a man died in the explosion. A milling machine was removing the top part of the pavement on a street, and it struck a gas line that was only 4 inches deep. Hitting that gas line, the guys jumped off the machine, the flame shot 50 foot in the air. They had a valid ticket. The gas line was marked, but the contractor didn't expect that that pipe was that shallow. Neither did the county roads department, who the contractor was working for. When it comes to damage prevention, when it comes to the locating part, just about everybody who puts down paint has a machine that will give you a depth estimate. If you're really concerned about damage prevention, you'd write shallow, because you can't locate this line without knowing it's only a few inches deep. In Princeton, there was indeed a valid one-call ticket. The line was marked. This machine here struck an unmarked line. And what's interesting about this, the unmarked line was what's called a drip. So it doesn't matter so much how deep the line is, the drip is going to go all the way up to the surface. And that's the part of the gas main that wasn't marked. The person who located it would have been the only person, with that information. Most excavators aren't going to understand what a drip is. A company that operated a pair of parallel pipelines also employed a 5-man well drilling crew that struck one of the pipelines while excavating, resulting in an explosion and fire that led to the evacuation of an entire community. Although the explosion rocked the earth and smoke from the fire could be seen in Dallas some 50 miles away, no one, including the drilling crew, was injured. The struck line, a 10-inch propane line, was quickly shut down, but the product in the line continued to burn. Pipeline officials were concerned that the heat of the fire may compromise a 14-inch pipeline which lay just a few feet away from the damaged line. The 14-inch line was not shut down, as the flow of its product would serve to lower the temperature of the steel pipe. In its response to regulators regarding the Gainesville home explosion, the gas company said the flooding from the water main break contributed to the 7 hours it took to shut off the flow of gas. But the amount of water in Gainesville isn't going to be anywhere close to the amount of water that you're going to see in these next 2 third-party digging accidents. If parked over a gas service, this car would easily pull a gas service from a gas main. Fortunately, this water main break did not morph into a gas emergency. It wasn't even caused by third-party damage. But occurring just hours later and just 6 blocks away, construction workers hit a 30-inch water transmission main, adding to the water woes of this New York City suburb of 50,000 people. Workers attempting to run a sewer line under a 36-inch water main struck the water main with excavation equipment, causing 14 million gallons of water to flood the downtown area. Called Minneapolis's largest water leak in the last 30 years, The repair costs alone were initially estimated to be $325,000. No doubt the pipe's repair bill was small in comparison to the millions of dollars of property damage and lost business claims. In one parking lot alone, the damage to vehicles was estimated at over $500,000, and many downtown restaurant and entertainment businesses were forced to close on a busy Thursday night. These accidents we have just seen are the result of mistakes that were made in the past. Though they are now behind us, this is the time to consider and apply lessons learned. The clock is always ticking. The future is in your hands.